I hate having the expansion conversation during the season, but there was news this week, so I want to dive into it for a few minutes here at Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo covering the Big 12 Conference. Thank you for being here. So there was news with Florida State and Clemson this week that does have some impact on the Big 12. And the news was that Florida State and Clemson are going to basically try to rekindle their marriage with the ACC. It's kind of like somebody goes to divorce court and then they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll actually try to make this thing work. It kind of feels like that's where Florida State and Clemson are right now. They realize, one, there are downsides of getting divorced. And yes, they are. Not that I know about it. Rings right there. Okay. You see it with your own two eyes. 10 years last month. So we got a ways to go, I know, but we're making it. We're doing fine. 3 kids, 6 and under. But we all know people like that, right? They're like, oh, man, I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to get the young girlfriend, the whole thing. And then they wake up and they're like, you know what? That's actually a really dumb, selfish idea. It kind of feels like that's where Florida State and Clemson are at right now. They threw this big fit. They've been trying to sue, and technically lawsuits are still ongoing, to get out of the conference. And then they kind of look around and they say, yeah, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe we should try to make this work. So Florida State and Clemson, per multiple reports, are re-engaging with the ACC on a proposal that would allow a greater share of revenue to those schools based on brand valuation and TV ratings, as well as potentially altering the expiration of the league's grant of rights, which currently runs through 2036. And in exchange, Clemson and Florida State would drop their lawsuits against the conference. So they want to reduce the grant of rights from 2036 to 2030. That makes sense. That's more in line with where the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the Big 12 are at right now, with their deals going till basically the start of the new decade. So that makes sense. Shorten it, figure out where things are at that point in time. I'm good with that. Most people should be. Making more money because you're the perceived top brand in the league. That gets dicey. And it gets dicey because of how they've talked about doing it. The proposal, which was organized by Clemson and Florida State and discussed this week by the ACC presidents, includes additional money going to schools with better rating success in football and basketball. Here's the problem. And if you're a Big 12 fan, you know this as well as anybody. It's not that easy to just say, well, this team has a bigger brand and should make more money because their ratings are better. I guarantee you, if I put Virginia Tech on in prime time on ESPN, it will do better than Florida State would do at, say, 11 a.m. on ESPN+. It's just the nature of the beast. So when you're talking about ratings, everything's not equal. A game on Fox Sports 1 is naturally going to have fewer viewers than a game on Fox. Same thing with ESPNU versus ESPN. So you can't just say, hey, if Florida State has the best ratings, they get more money. Now, I get it. They're the biggest brand. And here's the trickery of all this. The biggest brands, typically in college sports, are going to get the best TV slots. So what do? Right? It's very easy to sit there and say, well, let's just give the teams with the best ratings the most money. Yeah, but the rest, kickoff times, television networks, that is not all equal. So you can't really do it that way. I mean, I guess you can if the ACC agrees to it. I'm just saying that's probably not the fairest way to do it. If you want to bake in a little more money for Florida State and Clemson, I'm really not opposed to it. Frankly, if the Big 12 in hindsight wanted to do that for OU and Texas, probably would have made some sense. I know some of you are shocked I'm saying that, but it actually would have. OU would have had a better chance to get to the playoff in the Big 12. They could have made some more money. It might not be SEC money, but what's the SEC money really worth if you're finishing middle of the pack in the SEC every year? I'm just saying, just bringing up what I think is a fairly reasonable point. with OU football having worse odds to make the college football playoff than 4 teams in the Big 12 right now. That's right. There are 4 teams with better odds to make the playoff. Now, OU's got a really tough schedule, but once again, it's kind of what you signed up for. They got a bad draw this year on their schedule, but it's kind of what you signed up for. So what this means then for the Big 12 in turn is that it was always a long shot. Florida State and Clemson were going to be landing spots for the they were going to come to the Big 12. That was always a long shot. So really what this is more about is about a waiting game that continues. It means that Brett Yormark has no reason to rush for UConn. He has no reason to try to rush anything in the ACC. He is simply going to basically wait. The Big 12 is in a position of power for the first time in a long time. They can wait this thing out. Let the ACC drama play out. And by the way, if those 2 teams elect to keep the ACC together, okay, then if you're the Big 12, you kind of hang around. You work the next couple of years. You see if that UConn thing makes sense or still makes sense. You take another look at that, and you see where the ACC is going. Because this might all be a Band-Aid anyway, because a lot of hard feelings will be had if you start paying certain teams in the conference more money. That will happen, and that will cause people to say, you know what, screw this. If there are 2 tiers of justice, basically, if there are 2 tiers in this conference, we want out. It's kind of how the Big 12 nearly collapsed 15 years ago. You go back to that period of time, Nebraska was just fed up and done with Texas, trying to win the show in the Big 12. And they had an opportunity to get to the Big 10, and they said, you know what, we're done, we're out. A&M was sick of Texas. The common theme is everybody getting sick of Texas, but I think you understand that if you're a college football fan. It's just a matter of time before it happens in the SEC. Trust me, just wait. But that's what really nearly killed this league. 2 different sets of rules depending on who you are. So it's a dangerous game to play. But if you're ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, you really have no choice. It's the only thing that you can really do to try to salvage this conference. You don't want to be the next George Kliavkoff, because if you're the next George Kliavkoff, you're a loser. And you don't want to be a loser if you're ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. We cover the Big 12. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on the video. Thank you for being here. Subscribe to the channel. There are thousands of you watching who have not yet done it. So do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, and join our Heartland College Sports forums on the website. They're free. We are your leader for Big 12 content. It is going to be a great week ahead, and we appreciate you joining us and being a part of our show. Have a great day, and go Big 12.